Welcome back to Forbidden Lures. Right now, somewhere in America, a guy is tying on a $14 spinnerbait that took 3 years of R&D, got endorsed by a tournament pro, and looks so pretty you could frame it on your wall. And right next to him, some quiet dude with a crumpled ball of kitchen foil and a 6-inch piece of copper wire is about to absolutely smoke him. No exaggeration, no gimmick. What I am about to show you is a 50-cent electrochemical weapon that generates the one signal commercial lures physically cannot produce, and the tackle industry is praying you never figure it out. This is the Galvanic Fishing Hack, and after today, you will never look at a bare hook the same way again. 1. The big lie of the tackle industry. Here is the story the tackle companies have been feeding you since the day you walked into your first bait shop. They tell you predatory fish hunt with 2 senses, sight and vibration. So they sell you holographic paint jobs, 3D printed eyeballs, and tungsten rattles tuned to specific frequencies. And yeah, those things catch fish. I am not going to lie to you. But here is what they conveniently leave out. There is a 3rd sense, a hidden channel. And for many species, it is the most powerful hunting tool they have. It is called electroreception, the ability to detect electrical fields in the water. And every single commercial lure you own is completely, utterly dead on that channel. Think about that for a second. You are spending $15, $20, $30 on a lure that only triggers 2 out of 3 predatory senses. That is like selling a car with no engine and calling it premium. Now, sharks and rays, everybody knows about them. They have got those specialized gel-filled pores on their snouts, the ampulla of Lorenzini, that can detect electrical fields as faint as 5 nanovolts per centimeter. That is mind-blowing sensitivity. But here is the part nobody talks about on fishing channels. Your freshwater targets, catfish, walleye, sturgeon, paddlefish, they have their own version of this technology. Modified neuromasts built right into their lateral line systems. They are not as sensitive as a great white, but they are constantly scanning, constantly reading the electrical fingerprint of everything around them. Your fish are swimming biological voltmeters. And every lure in that tackle box of yours? Silent. 2. The spark of life and the biological voltmeter. So what exactly are these fish listening for? Every living thing in the water throws off an electrical signature. When a bait fish breathes, ions exchange across its gill membranes and create a tiny voltage difference. When its heart beats, when its muscles fire, when its nervous system sends a signal to change direction, all of that radiates electrical impulses into the surrounding water. We are talking microvolts to millivolts, tiny, but absolutely real. Now, here is where it gets interesting, and where the forbidden knowledge kicks in. A healthy baitfish swimming along puts out a steady, rhythmic electrical hum. Predictable, boring. A predator picks it up and thinks, that one is strong, not worth the chase. But an injured baitfish? A dying baitfish thrashing around burning its last calories? That fish throws off an erratic, spiking, chaotic electrical signature. And to a predator, that signal is not just interesting, it is irresistible. It is the electrical equivalent of dumping a bucket of blood into the water. It screams, "Free meal, no chase required, come get it." Do not take my word for it. Back in 1917, researchers Parker and Van Heusen dropped metallic rods into a tank full of catfish. The rods were not bait. They were not scented. They were just metal sitting in water. But the galvanic current at the metal-water interface was enough to make those catfish turn, swim over, and try to eat the rod. They thought it was prey. Fast forward to a more recent study on the Columbia River in Oregon. Researchers submerged 2 large metal pipes, one charged positive, one charged negative. Returning salmon consistently chose to swim through the positively charged pipe and actively avoided the negative one, every single time. The researchers called it the anode reaction. Predatory fish are hardwired to move toward positive voltage because their brains associate it with living, bleeding, dying prey. So the science is settled. The question is, how do we put that signal on a hook? 3. The science of the galvanic sweet spot. The answer has been sitting in a physics textbook since the 1700s, thanks to an Italian scientist named Luigi Galvani. Here is the principle, stripped down to what matters. Take two different metals. Submerge them in water that has dissolved minerals in it, which is literally every lake, river, and ocean on the planet. The moment those two metals touch each other and hit the water, you have got yourself a battery. A tiny, functional, electricity-producing battery sitting right on your hook. Aluminum is what scientists call anodic. It is eager to give up its electrons. Copper is cathodic. It is happy to sit there and collect them. Put aluminum and copper together in water, and the aluminum starts sacrificing itself, pushing electrons through the copper and generating a measurable voltage. Your high-carbon steel hook? It jumps into the party too, acting as a secondary cathode right alongside the copper. Now here is the number that matters. In real-world conditions, accounting for surface oxidation, water chemistry, all of it, this aluminum-copper pairing pumps out a steady voltage between 0.65 and 1.2 volts. And 0.65 volts? That is the magic number. Think of it this way. Below 0.18 volts, your signal is a whisper in a crowded room. The fish barely register it. At 0.65 volts, you are speaking directly into their ear. You are mimicking the exact electrical panic signal of a wounded baitfish at close range. Above 1.2 volts? Now you have got a fire alarm going off, and the fish are running for the exits. That 0.65 to 1.2 volt window is the sweet spot, and a simple foil and wire wrap puts you right in the center of it. 4. The 50-cent super stimulus versus the $14 industry standard. Let me paint you a picture. On one side, you have got a $14 premium spinnerbait, beautiful engineering, spinning blades throwing flash, skirt pulsing in the current. It triggers sight, it triggers vibration, and it is 100% electrically dead. On the other side, you have got a bare hook wrapped in kitchen foil and copper wire. Total cost? Maybe 50 cents if you are being generous. It flashes, it vibrates when you work it, and it is pumping 0.65 volts of dying baitfish signal into the water column. Which one do you think wins in pressured water? The lake, where every bass has seen a sexy shad crankbait 47 times this season? The Galvanic Hack wins, and it is not even close. Behavioral ecologists have a term for what is happening here. They call it a super stimulus, a signal so potent that it overrides the animal's normal caution and forces an instinctive response. The fish sees the flash, it feels the vibration, but it is that electrical confirmation, that 0.65 volt pulse registering on its lateral line, that pushes it past the point of no return. The predator was going to turn away. It has been fooled before. But the electrical signal says, this one is real, this one is dying, and the fish commits with violence. You are outfishing a $14 piece of hardware with scraps from your kitchen drawer, and the industry does not want you to know that. 5. Building the ultimate galvanic lure. All right, let us build this thing. It takes about 90 seconds, and you are going to wonder why you have not been doing this your entire life. Step 1. Grab a high-carbon steel hook. This is important. Do not use a hook with a thick coating or heavy paint job. Those coatings act as insulators and block the cathodic reaction. You need bare steel making contact. Step 2. Tear off a small strip of regular household aluminum foil. Nothing fancy, just the stuff you wrapped last night's leftovers in. Wrap it snug around the shank of the hook. This foil is your anode, the piece that sacrifices itself and generates the current. Because foil is so thin, you get a massive surface area to volume ratio, which means maximum ionization, maximum voltage output. Step 3. Take a length of thin copper wire, 22 to 28 gauge is the sweet spot, and coil it tightly over the aluminum foil. Tight is the key word here. If you leave gaps, you create pockets of crevice corrosion and high electrical resistance that choke your voltage output down to nothing. Tight coils, firm pressure, full contact. One thing to remember, foil always goes on the outside, touching the water. Aluminum is the anode. It needs to be the layer that interfaces with the electrolyte, which is the water itself. Copper goes underneath, bridging the connection. If you reverse this, you short-circuit the whole reaction, and the lure goes electrically silent. That is it. 90 seconds. Pennies in materials. And you are holding a weapon that the tackle industry cannot compete with. 6. Tuning your lure for water chemistry and TDS. Now we separate the weekend warriors from the anglers who truly understand the water. This galvanic battery you just built does not operate in a vacuum. Water is the electrolyte that powers it, and the chemistry of that water dictates everything: how strong your signal is, how long your lure lasts, and how you should adjust your wrap. The measurement that matters is TDS, total dissolved solids. It tells you how conductive the water is. Picture a crystal-clear mountain stream in the Rockies. TDS is barely 10 to 50 parts per million. The galvanic reaction here is slow, quiet, and subtle. Your foil might last days before it degrades. In water this clear, fish are hunting primarily by sight anyway, so you want a lighter wrap, less foil, a bit more copper, to keep the electrical signal realistic and the flash natural. You are mimicking a single injured baitfish, not setting off a distress beacon. Now move to a typical Midwest bass lake. TDS jumps to 150 to 500 parts per million. This is the galvanic sweet zone. The reaction runs moderate and steady, and your wrap will give you a solid 4 to 8 hours of prime fishing. But what if that lake turned muddy after a storm? When visibility drops to 0, the flash does not matter anymore. But electricity travels through mud just fine. So you load up the foil, more aluminum, more surface area, more current density. You are turning your hook into a long-range electrical beacon that fish can lock onto in total darkness. And then there is saltwater. Brackish estuaries run TDS up to 5,000. Open ocean hits 30,000 parts per million. The galvanic reaction in saltwater is violent and fast. You will get a screaming electrical field, but the aluminum gets consumed in 30 to 60 minutes flat. In salt, you are rewrapping constantly, but the results are worth every second of effort. 7. The repulsion phase, a crucial warning. Here is the part that separates the guys who catch fish all day from the guys who catch fish for an hour and then cannot buy a bite. Pay close attention. This lure is a sacrificial system. It has a shelf life. And if you ignore that, it does not just stop working, it actively turns fish away. As the aluminum oxidizes and the steel starts leaching iron oxide, the electrical signature of your lure shifts. After 3 to 6 hours in typical freshwater, you will start seeing the warning signs: tiny hydrogen bubbles forming on the surface and a rusty orange stain bleeding from the steel. Those bubbles are proof that you are generating real electricity, but they also mean you are entering what I call the repulsion phase. When the voltage spikes above 1.2 volts, or when the lure starts throwing off a cloud of negative ions, the signal flips from wounded prey to danger. Fish do not just ignore it, they flee from it. That same electrical sensitivity that drew them in now drives them away. The fix is dead simple: fresh materials. Aluminum foil and copper wire cost pennies. The moment you hit that 4 to 6 hour mark in freshwater, or 30 to 60 minutes in salt, strip the old wrap, wipe the hook clean, and put on a fresh set. Keep the voltage in the sweet spot, and the fish never stop coming. Conclusion: the tackle industry spends millions every year engineering lures that look incredible to fishermen and completely ignore the biology of the fish. You just learned how to bypass all of that. A strip of aluminum foil, a length of copper wire, a bare steel hook. That is all it takes to generate the exact bioelectric frequency of a dying baitfish. The one signal that overrides every survival instinct a predator has. If you are tired of getting outfished by the water, tired of watching expensive lures come back empty, this is your answer. Wrap it, fish it, replace it, and watch what happens. If this changed the way you think about fishing, do me one favor. Hit subscribe. Share this with one buddy who is still wasting money on lures that the fish figured out years ago. Drop a comment telling me what forbidden secret you want me to blow the lid off next. The tackle companies are counting on you never seeing this video. Let us make sure they are wrong. I will see you on the water.